Is the Lakers front office about to fall for the oldest trick in the book, chasing Jock Landale, the so-called underrated big man who's nothing more than a statistical anomaly and a defensive liability? Or the optimist delusional enough to think a 45% three-point shooter from the bench of a lottery team is the missing piece for a championship contender? No, let's cut the romanticized nonsense. Trading for Jock Landale isn't a smart money steal. It's a colossal waste of a precious asset, a desperate grab at a role player whose inflated shooting numbers mask a fundamental lack of impact. And if Rob Pelinka pulls the trigger on this irresorio deal, we'll be left with still leaky defense, a clogged rotation, and yet another season of what-ifs while LeBron James and Luka Doncic watch their prime years slip away with a bench that's still A. Weakness. Lakers Nation, welcome back to the channel where we don't just parrot the hype. We dissect it with a kind of raw, unfiltered passion that exposes the truth, gets your blood boiling, and has you rethinking every single move this franchise contemplates. I'm your host, the relentless analyst who's been calling out the good, the bad, and the downright delusional in purple and gold since the days when Kobe was dropping dimes and Shaq was shattering backboards. And today, we're tearing into the ultra-hot rumor that's dropped like a lead balloon as of yesterday, November 19th, 2025. Lake Show Life's report that the Los Angeles Lakers, despite our genuine contender status, are eyeing Memphis Grizzlies center Jock Landale as a perfect and underrated backup big man, available for a rubo price of second-round pick by December 15th. This buzz, fueled by Memphis's bottom-dwelling record and Landale's minimum contract, paints him as the ideal upgrade over Jackson Hayes and Christian Wood, a 6 feet 11 inches big who supposedly protects the rim and, get this, shoots an eye-popping 45% from three-point range in his career. Analysts like Jack Simone are gushing over his ability to Especar Quadra for Luka Doncic and LeBron James, claiming his impacto defensivo escondido, holding opponents to 2.9% worse at the rim, makes him a real impact guy who does the dirty work. It's being sold as ideal to Bikso Risco move that could elevar o banco de uma forma grande, turning our perceived bench weakness into a strength. But after scouring the most heated debates across U.S. media, from fiery threads on our /NBA where fans are screaming Landale is a walking foul machine who can't stay on the floor, to podcasts like the Bill Simmons podcast, where Simmons himself torched similar three-point shooting bigs, as fool's gold that doesn't translate to winning, and amplified by contrary hot takes on ESPN forums calling Landale a statistical mirage who's never played meaningful minutes for a contender. The most polemica, widely debated opinion raging right now is crystal clear and scorching. The Lakers must absolutely avoid trading for Jock Landale. He's an overhyped, inconsistent big man whose supposed shooting prowess is a mirage, and acquiring him will be a desperate, low-impact move that wastes a valuable asset, clogs our rotation, and does nothing to address our real defensive needs, proving once again that sometimes the cheap option is the most expensive mistake. This isn't about being picky. It's about being smart and refusing to settle for mediocrity when our championship window is wide open. Let's break this down with the brutal truth. Stacking arguments that defend this take like layers of impenetrable defense, drawing on damning stats, historical parallels, and forward projections to show why chasing Landale is a path to regret. Let's kick things off by exposing the most glaring red flag. Jock Landale's supposed 45% career three-point shooting is a complete statistical mirage, a dangerously misleading number that masks a player who is fundamentally not a reliable floor spacer and would actively hurt our offense more than help it. The report highlights this 45% figure as his primary offensive appeal, claiming it would abrir as lin as the infiltrate par Luka e LeBron. But what that glowing number conveniently omits is the volume. Landale has attempted a grand total of 49 three-pointers in his entire NBA career across 3 seasons. 49. That's barely 1 attempt per game over his limited playing time. To put that in perspective, our own DeAndre Ayton has taken more threes in some months. Relying on a player with such a minuscule sample size for spacing is like trusting a lottery ticket to pay your mortgage. It's pure fantasy. His career average of 3.8 points per game and 38% field goal percentage are far more indicative of his offensive impact, which is minimal at best. Hot takes on our /NBA are already calling this out, with fans pointing to his 2023-24 season with the Rockets, where he shot a dismal 30% from deep on similarly low volume. The opinio forte from Jack Simone that he would adjuder OS Lakers a manner o ritmo is laughable when his career usage rate is a paltry 12%. He's a non-factor offensively who would stand in the corner and rarely shoot, effectively shrinking the floor for Doncic and LeBron, not expanding it. This isn't the Ardo Harrier Posada we need. It's a pea shooter disguised as a cannon, and Pelinka falling for it will be a catastrophic misjudgment of talent. Secondly, let's dismantle the myth of Landale's impacto defensivo escondido. The reports claims that he holds opponents to 2.9% worse at the rim and boosts offensive rebounding are cherry-picked stats from a losing team that don't translate to the high-stakes defense required for a genuine contender, and his actual on-court performance reveals a player who is a defensive liability, not an upgrade. The Grizzlies are 3-12, one of the worst offensive teams in the league, allowing 118 points per game, 28th overall. Any individual defensive metrics from such a chaotic environment need to be taken with a grain of salt. Landale's career defensive rating is 114, a far cry from elite, and his foul rate is alarmingly high. He averages 3.1 fouls per 36 minutes, a recipe for disaster that would constantly put him on the bench and in foul trouble, especially against physical playoff centers. The report touts him as an upgrade over Jackson Hayes, but Hayes, despite his flaws, is a more athletic and versatile defender who can switch on the guards in a pinch, something Landale struggles with. Our biggest offensive need is reliable perimeter defense and switchability, not a slow-footed big who gets exploited in pick and roll. Hot takes from the Bill Simmons podcast are brutal, with Simmons arguing that these bigs who look good on bad teams get exposed on contenders. And he's right. Landale's impact is minimal, and his presence would only exacerbate our defensive weaknesses against dynamic offenses like the Nuggets or Thunder, who would feast on his lack of lateral quickness and propensity for fouls. This isn't the travel host Sujo that allows stars to shine. It's the dirty work that gets you benched. Third, let's address the Preco-Irisorio argument. While a second-round pick might seem like a rubo, even that is an overpay for a player with Landale's limited impact and questionable fit, especially when that pick could be used for a higher upside prospect or bundle for a more impactful player down the line. The report calls it an ideal Debunking risco, but there's no such thing as zero risk in the NBA, and even a second-round pick has value, particularly for a franchise like the Lakers that needs to be shrewd with its assets. Landale is on a minimum contract, which means he's easily replaceable. Why waste even a second-round pick on a player who is, at best, a marginal upgrade over our existing options, and at worst, a net negative? This isn't smart money. It's desperate money. We need to be targeting players who can genuinely move the needle, not statistical anomalies from losing teams. Hot takes from ESPN forums are scathing, with analysts arguing that Pelinka needs to stop chasing these bargain bin bigs and go for real talent. And they're spot on. This move signals a lack of ambition and a willingness to settle for mediocrity, which is unacceptable for a team of LeBron and Doncic. Finally, let's consider the broader strategic blunder. Chasing Landale distracts from our real needs and risks clogging our rotation with another unproven big, undermining the momentum of our 10-4 start and setting us up for a disappointing playoff run. The report claims he'd be a Bello upgrade over Hayes and Wood, but our problem isn't just a backup center. It's overall bench consistency and a need for genuine two-way wings. Landale doesn't solve that. His presence would force J.J. Redick to juggle minutes, potentially taking away valuable development time from younger players or forcing awkward lineups. With LeBron admitting he needs to get his pulmos de hamam adulto back, we need players who can seamlessly integrate and elevate, not projects or statistical curiosities. This isn't the movimento chirurgico that ensures home court advantage. It's a minor procedure that leaves the patient still bleeding. Projecting forward, avoiding this Landale trap isn't hesitation. It's strategic discipline that preserves our assets and keeps our focus on genuine upgrades, blending our strong start with smart, impactful moves. Short term, Passing on Landale allows us to use a second-round pick or a better asset for a more reliable shooter or versatile defender who can actually contribute to our playoff push, pushing our 10-4 record to 25-6 and dominating the West with balanced lineups. Long term, it preserves flexibility for future trades or free agency, ensuring we build a sustainable contender around Doncic and Reeves without the baggage of an overhyped, underperforming role player. If we acquire Landale and he inevitably struggles, a 70% chance given his history, our bench remains a weakness, our assets are wasted, and we flame out in the playoff against teams with real depth. But by dodging this bullet, we keep our options open for true difference makers. The risks of this trade, minimal impact, wasted asset, clogged rotation, are too high. The rewards are illusory. In the end, Jock Landale is the overhyped bargain that's really a bust in disguise. Pursuing this irrisorial trade is a distraction that could cost us a ring, and Pelinka must walk away to chase Real glory. Lakers crew, is Landale a sneaky steal or a total trap? Spill your hottest takes and alternative targets in the comments. Let's blueprint the real path to a championship. If this breakdown fired you up, smash that like button and subscribe for more no BS analysis. Your passion keeps the fire alive. Go Lakers.